Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Chifa Accelerator webinar. We're very excited for this moment at the end of 9 months of work, which we're here to tell you about today. I'm Bonnie Burnham, the founder and president of the Cultural Heritage Finance Alliance, and pleased to welcome you all, most especially the presenters of the four cities that participated in the Urban Heritage Regeneration Accelerator. As background, the Cultural Heritage Finance Alliance, or CHIFA, is a nonprofit organization focused on how to realize the potential that historic places have as a focus of contemporary life through heritage-led development. Historic buildings of more than 100 years old represent up to 45% of the man-made structures in the world. They anchor communities everywhere, and they will outperform new buildings, both in terms of longevity and in environmental terms, as repositories of embodied energy and traditional knowledge about the Earth's climate and how we can interact with it. In cultural terms, historic places hold special attraction as a community rallying point, especially favored by young people as a place to live and work and from which to draw inspiration. But in spite of these givens, the most prestigious historic cities in the world for their character, those that are recognized as World Heritage, are facing common problems. And one of them is the depopulation of historic centers, as well as neglect of viable and reusable structures and the pressures of tourism and other forms of development and growth. The goal of this accelerator is to face and address these challenges with positive action and measurable results that demonstrate the habitability of our historic cities, meaning their ability to continue to perform as supportive anchors to resident communities. When the accelerator began last June, the Chifa team saw it as an experiment. The goal was to introduce the heritage preservation field to a wide range of financial instruments and opportunities that have been used in other sectors, but not so much in our own. The Chifa team's goal was to leave the participant cities with a vision, a strategy, a business plan, and an organization structure to help each one advance beyond the accelerator to achieve its long-term goals. The Organization of World Heritage Cities, our partner, saw the accelerator as a practical device that might help advance their new urban project, which is focused on a new vision of habitability in historic cities. With input from its member cities, the OWHC was looking for new ways to address four critical themes of housing, urban green space, mobility, and economic development that were at the heart of the Accelerator program. Over the course of the past 9 months, the Accelerator has evolved an increasingly detailed vision and plan for each of the participant cities. The first 3 month segment focused on defining the challenge in each urban context and ended with a SWOT analysis and a vision for the future. The second segment was devoted to creating an urban framework plan, defining the assets and challenges in each community in graphic terms. In the third segment, each team developed a pilot project with a budget, a timeline, a financing strategy, and a set of desired outcomes and impacts. The four participating cities have been introduced to more than 24 subject experts, mentors, coaches, and others who've provided technical assistance to map out financing strategies and organization structures. I'd like to acknowledge especially those who provided guidance, even though many of them are not here today. And I'd like to offer special thanks to the Schack Institute of Real Estate of New York University and the International Transactions Clinic of the NYU Law School, whose graduate students assisted the city teams in developing the financial and governance frameworks behind their final presentations. The local teams have done a tremendous amount of work in a short time and handled it masterfully. Hats off to all 4 of our Accelerator participant cities. From what we've seen, this will be a rich and unfolding experience. We believe the proposals they've arrived at are exciting and motivating, and now it's time to show off their work. Today's presentations represent the culmination of the Accelerator process, a focused, business-oriented pitch that seeks to address a potential investor or supporter's questions. What does your city hope to achieve? Why is it important? What is the financial proposition? What additional support is needed for this effort? How will the project make a difference? These are the questions we've asked each Accelerator participant to address. The strategies for each of the 4 cities are different from each other. Each presents a valid approach. Each creates opportunities for social cohesion and inclusion, and a means to address the needs of the underserved in the community. These are diverse opportunities, but they have a common goal and some elements of a common strategy. In addition to presenting their individual projects, each participant will be supporting Chifa's idea that heritage can be at the epicenter of local development. Each participant city has seen this potential and has developed both an overarching vision and specific projects around it. A common vision and a common framework begin to add up to a new paradigm. This is what we had hoped for. Our intention was for the Urban Heritage Accelerator to offer a new approach to planning for heritage preservation, that by investing in heritage, your communities could find a new dynamic for places that have lacked investment and recognition of their value and importance. Your work will be part of our proof of concept. Beyond this moment, Chifa will continue to work with the teams with the hope that we can provide seed funding and catalytic capital, as well as connections to people who see the value of this initiative and have the capacity to provide support, connections, and advice toward the long-term goals of each city to attain. And in reference to that, I'd like to thank the family and friends of Chifa who've supported this accelerator up to this stage. Thank you for joining us for what we believe will be an exciting and even thrilling new way of using our collective heritage as an anchor for a new vision of historic cities. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our partner, Mikhail Datis, who is the Secretary General of the Organization of World Heritage Cities. Mikhail is a French Canadian who spent 25 or 30 years in Europe working with heritage at the Council of Europe before returning to Quebec in 2021. Welcome, Mikhail. Thank
you very
you.
much, Bonnie. It's my great pleasure to attend and participate in this final session. Good morning to all. The World Heritage Cities Organization has high hopes for its cooperation with Chifa, as we will be adopting soon, as Bonnie has mentioned, a new reference and cooperation framework for our 120 member cities, which we call our new urban process. We want to engage our member cities in stronger and more innovative urban action, focusing on historic centers, which are for us considered as specific urban areas that must develop their capacities to be livable and vibrant in order to be transmitted to future generations. This urban prospect is a significant evolution for our organization, considering that our specific political goal focuses on urban development through habitability. This habitability objective introduces several new elements compared to the traditional approach of historic centers and cities in general. One of these innovations concerns the nature and characteristics of the projects that must emerge. We want our cities to propose projects that act as catalysts that avoid sectorial and fragmented responses, that propose more restrained, fairer, and better integrated developments capable of changing the urban trajectory of historic centers and ensuring their long-term habitability. However, we are convinced that to ensure that structural transformation of historic centers, it will be necessary to strengthen cities' financial and institutional capacities. It is with this in mind that we are very pleased to be working with SHIFA. They are helping us to enrich our proposal. Indeed, although our member cities have a strong grasp of their heritage and social narratives, we know that heritage alone is not sufficient financial argument. Its catalytic effect in strategic and financial terms is too often limited. That is why we know we will need to work quickly on financial engineering and institutional and operational structurings to remove barriers to accessing funding. The Accelerator, implemented by SHIFA as part of our ongoing activities, should provide us with the valuable insights we need to finalize our new urban process proposal. This meeting will certainly be an interesting step in the direction, and I thank our pilot cities very much for their works in this regard and all the participants in this meeting. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward with great enthusiasm the presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mikhail and Bonnie. My name is Amy Iwasaki, and I've had the privilege of managing the Accelerator program, working directly with our participating cities over the past 9 months. Before introducing our 4 teams and getting to the presentations while you're all here, just one technical note, and I'm going to share my screen briefly. Okay. So 2 of our presentations today are going to be delivered in Spanish. So we're using a software called Wordly, which will provide simultaneous AI translated captions to this meeting. You have a couple options for how to access this. The simplest way, if you have your phone ready, is to just point your camera at the QR code on the screen, and a link should take you directly to the translations that you can just keep open on your phone for when you need them. You can also join through your browser with the link that will be dropped into the chat. And then lastly, if you're joining on your Zoom desktop app, you should be able to access the translations directly on a side panel with a pop-up that will appear at the top of your screen. So I'll just give you all a moment to set that up. And with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce the 4 teams that have participated in this inaugural Accelerator cohort. Our 4 teams came to us through an application process open to all OWHC member cities. And after a careful review, we selected a cohort based on the strength and alignment of applicants' urban regeneration objectives with our program's goals, as well as their potential to benefit and succeed through this process. Ultimately, we ended up with a quite diverse cohort of 4 World Heritage cities all around the world, each facing their own unique set of challenges and opportunities in their contexts. Working with these 4 cities across 4 different world regions has led to quite an enriching experience for the program, with opportunities throughout the process for the cities to share their progress and compare commonalities, differences, and potential shared solutions. And shortly, you're going to hear about 4 projects that our local teams have been developing throughout the Accelerator, each one designed to pose solutions for specific issues confronting their cities. And today, with our presentations, we're going to be going all over the world. We'll start our journey in Lamu Old Town, which is located on Lamu Island on Kenya's northern coast. Lamu is a historic Swahili settlement that has been continuously inhabited for over 7 centuries, with a rich culture that fuses African, Arab, Persian, Indian, and European influences. Next, we'll jump over to Baeza in Spain, which is a close-knit community located in Andalusia, nearby well-known cities like Jaén and Córdoba. Baeza is packed with layers of architectural heritage spanning centuries of its community life and is also known throughout Spain and abroad for its olive oil and tourism offerings. From there, we'll jump over to Tunis and specifically the historic Medina of Tunis, which is known for its winding streets, narrow alleys, historic monuments, and craft traditions. We'll be looking at a previously overlooked neighborhood just adjacent to the central Medina called the Faubourg Sud, and its historic assets that lay waiting to be activated for community benefit. And finally, we'll end today in Ecuador in the historic city center of Cuenca, which is distinguished for its striking urban landscape with terracotta rooftops, a dramatic natural setting framed by mountains and rivers, its enduring cultural traditions, and its rich social and public life. For anyone who's just joining, I'm putting up the QR code one more time to access the translated captions that'll be available for our Spanish language presentations. Again, you can also access the captions through a link in the chat. If it's not already in there, I'll put it in shortly, or directly on your Zoom desktop app. And with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our first presenter from the Accelerator team from Lamu, Kenya. Haula Abdul Kadir is representing the Friends of Lamu Cultural Heritage, which is a local NGO dedicated to preserving and regenerating the heritage of Lamu Old Town. And she'll be sharing an initiative to transform a traditional Swahili home into Lamu's first of its kind Swahili Cultural Center. So Haula, the stage is yours.
Walk with me in Lamu Old Town. Walk with me in Lamu Old Town, located on the northern coast of Kenya in East Africa. This is a very historic gem. The sunlight pouring on coral walls, narrow alleys, and carved wooden doors that speak before you knock. Lamu has been continuously inhabited for more than 700 years. A rich fusion of cultures spanning from Africa, Arabia, India, Europe, and beyond. This is East Africa's melting point of cultures, art, and wealth. But what's way impressive is its architecture. So let's step inside a Swahili stone house. Mangrove beam ceilings, coral walls, big galleries, and intricate wall art and dishes. These are details made by hand. But I can't shake the feeling when I walk down some neighborhoods. Historic buildings are collapsing into ruins. And it's tragic and devastating. We are witnessing the slow disappearance of something so unique, precious, and irreplaceable. But there's something we can do together. Families have abandoned their ancestral homes due to limited financial capabilities to maintain them. And as the houses become inhabitable, families leave, and with dwindling opportunities, they search for better livelihoods elsewhere. This is a risk to our Swahili heritage. With each collapse, a piece of Swahili heritage disappears. And neighborhoods that were once vibrant are now on the verge of becoming hollow relics. Unless restored, unless with your support and renewed investment, the stone houses of Lamu may soon be just fragments of memory rather than the enduring symbols of Swahili civilization. Now imagine a Swahili stone house with visible cracks, currently in disuse, restored to its former glory before it completely collapses. Transformed into a lively cultural center, the first one of its kind in the island, serving residents, heritage professionals, artists, craftsmen, and visitors. A capital grant will enable the purchase and acquisition, renovation of a historic house, ensuring zero debt and immediate revenue generation. And the flexible layout of a traditional Swahili house supports multiple activities. The restored property will be used to generate revenues through cultural programs, wood carving workshops, Swahili cuisine cooking classes, cafes, gallery admissions, artisan retails, and space rentals. The success of this project, the first of its kind, a Swahili cultural center on the island, will serve as a proof of concept. It will not just serve as an anchor of operations for the Lamu Heritage Enterprise Organization, but it will demonstrate the operational and financial viability of reactivating Lamu's heritage. This project will produce surplus revenue to seed future projects. So what does success look like? A private crumbling home, carefully revived. The doors of an authentic masterpiece Swahili stone house opened to the public. A community that owns, celebrates, and accesses its heritage daily. Empowered and employed local artisans and young people in Swahili heritage. And high-quality cultural tourism flowing into the town. Visitors come not just to see the heritage of Lamu, but to understand, appreciate, and support further. And most importantly, is that this project will become a model, not just a single success. Other homeowners will begin to see the possibility where they once saw was only inevitable decay and helplessness. Soon, another house will be restored, then another, then another. The ripple will spread across the town, more affordable residential units. It will become a shared movement for the custodians of heritage in Lamu. Potential properties have already been identified for future phases over the longer term. This includes the historic Stone Town Academy building just by the seafront, awaiting for life to be breathed into it. And in 2040, Lamu Town thrives. Once crumbling homes are now vibrant public spaces. Ghosted streets are now lively historic spaces, high-quality schools, and centuries-old craftsmanship is the generator for economic opportunities within the town. Lamu stands as a global model for heritage-led regeneration. At the cornerstone of this project is Friends of Lamu Cultural Heritage, deeply rooted within the community, trusted, experienced, and very passionate. The National Museums of Kenya, the World Monuments Fund, and the Cultural Heritage Finance Alliance collectively is a strong force of local knowledge, national authority, and global credibility working in hand to make this dream a reality. And guess what? You are our next partner. My name is Khawla, and I'm asking for $500,000 to realize this dream. A seed funding will finance legal support to establish the Lamu Heritage Organization. Your philanthropic grant will acquire and restore a Swahili house. And a catalytic capital will pay for the startup cost of this new entity as funds are raised. And it will help in the cultural programming. This project will definitely unlock diverse, sustainable revenue streams. Please join us in saving the old town of Lamu a house at a time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Haula, for your incredible presentation and for sharing this really exciting project that can help residents and visitors connect with the town's rich Swahili heritage and also bring economic opportunities to residents. Our next speaker will also be focusing on restoring and reusing an important historic asset, this time a Carmelite convent located in the heart of Baeza, Spain. Representing the municipality of Baeza is its elected Councillor of Tourism and Promotion, Jose Antonio Jimenez Molina. And just a note for all attendees, this presentation will be in Spanish, so I invite you to make use of the Wordly translations if needed. If you don't already have them pulled up, you can access them through the link in the chat. And okay, vale, José, cuando quieras.
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre, como bien ha dicho Amy, es José Antonio Jiménez y hoy vengo desde Baeza, una pequeña ciudad al sur de España, una ciudad que es patrimonio de la humanidad y que presenta en este momento uno de sus grandes proyectos de futuro, de largo plazo y que hoy con mucha ilusión, tras 9 meses de trabajo, venimos a presentar. Se trata de la rehabilitación del convento de la Encarnación de la ciudad. Baeza es una ciudad patrimonio de la humanidad, una ciudad que ha sido lugar de encuentro de culturas. Hoy es una gran ciudad que acopia estilos culturales, arquitectónicos, y es un reflejo del paso de culturas por nuestras calles. La historia se respira en cada uno de los lugares, bien sea con renacimiento, plateresco, románico. Hoy nos ocupa la rehabilitación del convento de la Encarnación, que fue creado en el año 1599 y que ha tenido en la ciudad 416 años de una vida ininterrumpida. Hoy somos conscientes, tras análisis profundos, de la responsabilidad y de la sensibilidad histórica que nos ha tocado vivir. Los monumentos de nuestra ciudad no nos pertenecen a nosotros. No solo nos pertenecen a nosotros. Tenemos que vivir por ellos para las generaciones que vendrán. Y en ello estamos trabajando. Tenemos por delante un desafío que mencionamos nosotros como ilusionante y que está sin duda dentro de un modelo de ciudad que queremos de futuro. No solo es un proyecto que ha tocado en este momento, no. Llevamos muchos años preparando nuestra ciudad y hoy queremos que este sea el punto de partida, porque tenemos un deterioro continuo del patrimonio religioso de nuestra ciudad, un déficit de servicios sociales acordes a la sociedad que hoy nos toca vivir en el año 2026. Y tenemos otro problema que atajar, que es la fuga de talento y la despoblación continua de nuestra ciudad. Queremos que los jóvenes queden con nosotros. Somos conscientes de los distintos inconvenientes, pero nosotros vamos a convertir esos problemas, esos inconvenientes, en grandes oportunidades. Tenemos el ejemplo aquí de 3 fotografías que representan muy bien lo que hemos sido, lo que somos y lo que queremos ser. La congregación de las Carmelitas dejó nuestra ciudad, dejó su convento histórico en el año 2015. Ahí mostramos una foto de las últimas habitantes del convento. Hoy ya mencionaba que necesitamos de servicios sociales para una población mayor. Nuestros padres, abuelos, necesitan servicios que los atiendan como se merecen. Y por otro lado, miramos al futuro, miramos a nuestros jóvenes. Sabemos que tienen un talento inmenso de desarrollar sus profesiones, sus estudios, y queremos que lo hagan aquí, dedicándose a nuestros mayores. ¿Qué mejor que el antes y el ayer, para que nunca olvidemos quiénes nos precedieron y cómo hemos llegado hasta hoy? Nuestro gran proyecto se basa en la residencia de la Encarnación. Queremos rehabilitar integralmente el edificio para convertirlo en 127 plazas para atender a nuestros mayores. Será un edificio moderno, será un edificio que se adapte a las necesidades actuales, con habitaciones dobles, individuales, con espacios comunes y con instalaciones que hagan de un lugar especial donde nuestros mayores desarrollen su vida de la mejor manera posible. Ahora creemos que es el momento perfecto. El momento perfecto porque se han unido diversas estrellas que se han conjugado en un momento especial. Tendremos el lugar donde realizarlo, tendremos la rehabilitación, tenemos el espacio y será gestionado por un operador de máxima experiencia en el cuidado de personas mayores. Sobre todo, tendrá un impacto social magnífico. Un impacto social de los que van a calar hondo en la sociedad de nuestra ciudad. Y sobre todo, porque tiene unas vistas puestas a muy largo plazo. Tendremos 127 residentes mayores. Objetivo número 1. Tendremos empleo de calidad para nuestros jóvenes, donde se crearán 150 puestos de trabajo. Esos son números maravillosos para una ciudad tan pequeña como nosotros, solo 15.000 habitantes. Y por supuesto, va a tener un impacto social en el ánimo y en el corazón de todos los baezanos, porque vamos a rehabilitar un barrio, el barrio de la Encarnación, que ha sido y es hoy un lugar importante en nuestro casco histórico y que sin duda alegrará la vida, la sociedad y la economía de nuestra ciudad. Nosotros le llamamos el modelo Baeza. Queremos que el modelo Baeza sea un modelo espejo, no solo en nuestro entorno cercano, en Andalucía, en España. Somos conscientes de que este puede ser el momento de copiar el modelo Baeza para la reutilización, para la rehabilitación y para la gestión actual de edificios que están en un deterioro continuo. Pero sobre todo miramos a largo plazo. Miramos por el uso social, por la conservación de nuestros edificios históricos y porque queremos que esto siga siendo algo importante para todos. Hoy os presentamos este proyecto porque tenemos varias piezas fundamentales para todo proyecto. Tenemos la congregación de las Madres Carmelitas, que van a ceder su edificio y todos sus terrenos inicialmente por 50 años. Tiempo suficiente para poner en marcha este gran proyecto. Ellas están ilusionadas en que su convento pueda llegar a ser una residencia de ancianos y ver que continúa la historia. Por otro lado, tenemos la inestimable ayuda y la dedicación absoluta de la Fundación, que será la gestora económica y operativa de todo el proyecto, con una magnífica experiencia en el sector de residencias de mayores. Y destaco de ellos su valor al no ser un proyecto un proyecto sin ánimo de lucro. Por otro lado, estará reforzando todo este proyecto el Ayuntamiento de Baeza, que facilitará las relaciones institucionales y ayudará al conjunto del proyecto a conseguir todos los proyectos posteriores que nos propongamos. Y por supuesto, falta una cuarta pieza, que esa queremos que seas tú, con un apoyo financiero que nos permita desarrollar el proyecto en su conjunto. Necesitaremos ayuda, necesitaremos inversiones, necesitaremos socios aliados a largo plazo, donde inicialmente se necesitará un financiamiento semilla, un capital catalítico para desarrollar los costes de un predesarrollo del mismo proyecto. Y repito, es un proyecto sin ánimo de lucro, que necesitará 3-5 años para la puesta en marcha para que sea capaz de ser generador de economía. Os invitamos a que participéis de este gran proyecto, del cual nos gustará ampliar toda la información. Llevamos muchos años, desde el año 2018, trabajando incesantemente en él, desarrollando números, financiación, proyecto. Partimos de una base de tener muchos permisos urbanísticos, tenemos ya la base creada y estaremos encantados de poder mostrarlo. Es el momento de hacer historia en Baeza y queremos que tú participes de ella. Gracias a todos. Y hoy quiero terminar esta intervención con algo importante. Creo que se han juntado muchas estrellas en este día. Hoy, día 25 de marzo de 2026, hace 800 años este año de la toma de Baeza por parte del rey Fernando III, que incorporó la ciudad a Castilla. Y por otro lado, hoy precisamente es el día de la Encarnación. Por tanto, creo que algo ha pasado con este día y con este proyecto que esperemos podamos llevarlo a cabo con vuestra ayuda. Muchas gracias desde Baeza. Os esperamos.
Mil gracias, José, por tu presentación y por tu pasión, como siempre. As Jose mentioned, if you look across Spain and the broader Mediterranean region, Baeza is not the only city dealing with abandoned religious heritage, nor is it the only city confronting an aging population and youth leaving their cities in search of gainful employment. So this initiative offers an exciting chance to turn these challenges into opportunities and share a model for cities facing similar challenges. Now, for our next presentation, we'll be turning to the Medina of Tunis and a historic hammam bathhouse with the potential to anchor the activation of an entire neighborhood. And representing the Tunis Accelerator team is Leila Bengassem, a local social entrepreneur and the Director General of the Tunis Historic Initiative. Over to you, Leila.
Well, thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. I'm Leila Bengassem, Director General of Tunis Historic, a Tunisian company that unites impact investors for the preservation of built heritage in the Medina of Tunis through inclusive, financial, sustainable repurposing of historical buildings. The Medina of Tunis is the historical urban quarter of Tunis, the capital of Tunisia. It has a central neighborhood founded in the 7th century, end of the 7th century, and 2 additional suburbs were added around the 13th century. During the Urban Heritage Regeneration Accelerator, we focused on this area, which houses 4 of Tunis Historic properties. Tunis Historic will undergo the first important investments in this neighborhood, and it is important for us to understand urban, social, economic, and historical opportunities that we could take into account ahead of our repurposing plans. The Faubourg Sud today is a vibrant neighborhood with many street vendors of food and antiques. but also many shops are closed, homeowners wanting to sell their properties, and collapsed or badly transformed buildings. One of Faubourg Sud's important streets is Rue Boukhris, which is an architectural witness of Tunisian Mediterraneanity. During the Accelerator, we were lucky to have architects Cyril and Mariam, who were generously coached by architect Sihan. Cyril and Mariam spent their last summer mapping Faubourg Sud, understanding urban dynamic at different times of the day and different days of the week. This enabled us to have a very detailed framework plan. The last Faubourg Sud framework plan was done around the 70s. This important urban survey helped us design routes which could transform the narrative of Faubourg Sud through its own historical, cultural, and economic opportunities. It was like treasure hunting. One of the treasures is Hammam al-Tamarin, a building where time stopped, built in 1639, covering an area of about 800 meters square. Hammam is a public bath, and Tamarin comes from Tmar, or dates, as the Hammam is located near what used to be Souq al-Tamarin, where date farmers used to travel from the southern oasis to sell their dates nearby the Hammam, which still carries the name. The Hammam is strategically located between central Medina and Faubourg Sud and can be a catalyst that brings the cultural and touristic dynamic of central Medina to Faubourg Sud. Hammam al-Tamarin is a privately owned building. It's owned by Mr. Mohammed Ali Bakir. He's a fifth generation Hammam owner. Hammam al-Tamarin operation will be through a variety of uses, each with its own revenue stream and customer base. Thanks to architect Salwa, we imagined the functions of the Hammam. There will be a wellness center that collaborates with the Hammam, a museum, a coffee to bring to attract some footfall, and the museum will play the role of highlighting the social. Of course, the hammams were used for cleansing, but they were also important hubs for social interaction and social exchange. For important social impact, integrating Faubourg Sud into the Medina, creating jobs in the community, activating local souk, and becoming a positive catalyst for positive urban transformation. We have worked on estimating budgetary needs to launch each function, starting with ground floor restoration works, and then activating the hammam, including the beauty center, the museum, and the coffee shop. We have already the agreement of the hammam owner to provide the building in kind, hence estimated development costs do not need acquisition costs. So the building will become part of Tunis Historic portfolio of properties. Then we will launch a non-profit association and a for-profit company. The non-profit association will manage the museum and the educational activities and will get funding from grantors or donors. And the Hammam Tamarin company could welcome investors and operate the hammam and maybe collaborate with potential operators for the coffee shop and other activities. Finally, this is the investment summary, which we hope to get from investors and donors. We hope we convinced you to join our journey as we bring Hammam al-Tamarin to life, and we hope this is the start and not the end. And I would like to thank everyone who contributed and supported us through our journey in the Accelerator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leila. Excellent. This is such an inspiring project, and so many of the pieces are already in place for this incredible hammam to be a social, cultural, and economic cornerstone for the Faubourg Sud's regeneration. Now, for our final presentation, we'll be moving along to Cuenca, Ecuador, where the municipality is confronted with a singular opportunity to fund affordable housing initiatives within a growing speculative real estate market. And representing the Historic Areas Department of the Municipality of Cuenca is Vanessa Orellana Gutierrez. And once again, this presentation will be in Spanish, so I'll direct you to the Wordly translations if you need them. Whenever you're ready, Vanessa.
Muchísimas gracias, señor. Muy buenos días con todos. Mi nombre es Vanessa Orellana y a nombre del equipo técnico de la ciudad de Cuenca y en representación de la Dirección General de Áreas Históricas y Patrimoniales del Plan Municipal del Cantón Cuenca, les extiendo un cordial y atento saludo a todos ustedes. La ciudad, dentro del programa del Acelerador, se enfocó específicamente en la temática relacionada a la generación de vivienda accesible en el centro histórico de Cuenca. El centro histórico de Cuenca se caracteriza por su paisaje urbano, la colorimetría predominante que tiene sus cubiertas, la conexión tan específica y tan especial que tiene con su entorno natural, su arquitectura religiosa que por la escala y los elementos arquitectónicos que la componen configuran de cierta manera el paisaje, su arquitectura colonial y republicana, que de manera muy general se integra a la escala que mantiene la ciudad. Se emplaza una terraza media de tres que topográficamente la consolidan, delimitada por ríos y compuesta por un conjunto de edificaciones en donde el 34% son categorizadas como patrimoniales, fuertemente vinculada a sus espacios públicos, sus dinámicas y manifestaciones, y consolidada como un área con una alta cobertura en infraestructura, servicios básicos y equipamientos, con una alta concentración de atractivos turísticos y tornándose como un punto principal en la red del sistema de transporte público a nivel cantonal. Sin embargo, también evidencia una baja densidad poblacional con tendencia de crecimiento negativa, de 1,3% anual. En ese sentido, lo que el GAD busca es apostar por la generación de estrategias que permitan garantizar la habitabilidad en el centro histórico, pero sobre todo en condiciones de sostenibilidad. Como parte de los desafíos, entendidos como problemáticas que pueden convertirse en oportunidades, se visibiliza en el centro histórico el turismo masivo, que puede generar una congestión y alteración del entorno que afecta la calidad de vida de sus residentes, y también la comercialización excesiva que puede conllevar a una pérdida de la autenticidad y a la creación de más bien un ambiente temático. También encontramos un mercado inmobiliario instalado, pero desde una perspectiva de obtener la mayor rentabilidad del proyecto, por sobre características paisajísticas, históricas y culturales que ya se han identificado como valiosas dentro del territorio. Un enfoque comercial y de entretenimiento que domina a la vivienda y una falta de incentivos para la priorización de proyectos precisamente habitacionales de manera accesible. También tenemos la pérdida de la población residente, principalmente relacionada a cambios de uso y ocupación del espacio, a un alto costo del valor del suelo y una carencia de incentivos para el mantenimiento y conservación de las edificaciones patrimoniales. Asimismo, otro gran reto a enfrentar es el alto costo del suelo, ya que al ser un territorio que conjuga elementos patrimoniales, históricos, simbólicos, sociales, económicos, ambientales y paisajísticos, genera una demanda de ubicación con fines comerciales, pero en detrimento de la habitabilidad. ¿Cuál es el horizonte de habitabilidad que se plantea para el Centro Histórico de Cuenca? Una ciudad en donde el patrimonio y la calidad de vida puedan converger. El centro histórico se visibiliza con una gestión de manera integral, que promueve espacios que mejoran la calidad de vida de la población, que protege, salvaguarda y difunde sus elementos patrimoniales, naturales y culturales, conserva y protege su valor universal excepcional, garantizando los derechos culturales y patrimoniales. Promueve el acceso, uso y disfrute democrático y equitativo del patrimonio en todos sus fondos e incentiva la puesta en valor del patrimonio existente, así como la creación de nuevos elementos patrimoniales, fomentando así expresiones artísticas y culturales. Fomenta la preservación del tejido social y cultural, la seguridad, la cohesión social, la identidad, el respeto a la diversidad, la resiliencia, el acceso equitativo a oportunidades y la continuidad de las múltiples relaciones simbólicas y socioculturales que configuran el patrimonio vivo de la ciudad. Fomenta la habitabilidad y promueve la permanencia de la población residente, garantizando un entorno inclusivo y sostenible. Conserva sus condiciones biofísicas, y fortalece su gobernanza mediante la articulación interinstitucional, la cooperación internacional y el desarrollo de capacidades técnicas e institucionales de las entidades encargadas de esta gestión patrimonial. Dentro de este marco, ¿cuáles han sido estas estrategias enfocadas en la habitabilidad? Inicialmente dentro del programa se identificó 3 lotes baldíos, en donde se podrían implantar viviendas multifamiliares para aumentar la oferta de vivienda accesible para residentes locales en y alrededor del centro histórico. Esta población era un mercado objetivo con ingresos mensuales alrededor de $500 a $1.500 y cuyo gasto mensual enfocado en vivienda esté alrededor de los $150 a $450, es decir, un 30% del ingreso. A partir del análisis financiero y la previsión de los datos, y tal como se identificó en los retos que la ciudad enfrenta, se identifica que los costos del suelo y la construcción están por encima de lo que este mercado objetivo puede acceder. Sin embargo, la reducción del costo del suelo podría permitir hacer viables los proyectos pilotos, ampliar un rango de accesibilidad y finalmente crear un incentivo de rentabilidad para los desarrolladores privados. Dentro del modelo de negocio que se propone, se plantea un aprovechamiento del mercado inmobiliario y turístico instalado en la ciudad, para así generar ingresos destinados a la adquisición y al desarrollo de viviendas accesibles para los residentes locales. Dentro de estas potenciales fuentes de ingreso se han identificado desde la venta de derechos de edificabilidad en propiedades municipales hasta tasas hoteleras y turísticas. Lo que esto permitirá es subvencionar los costos de adquisición del suelo para viviendas accesibles, reducir los costos de desarrollo de la vivienda e incentivar a los propietarios de inmuebles históricos a ofrecer y mantener estos alquileres de manera accesible. Esta iniciativa puede generar diversos impactos, entre ellos un impacto social, en donde podremos destacar, uno, la retención de los residentes de larga duración con ingresos bajos y medios, la preservación sin duda del carácter histórico de la ciudad, la canalización de los beneficios del turismo y la inversión hacia los residentes locales, y la implementación de un proyecto piloto que visibiliza un modelo innovador de financiamiento en una ciudad patrimonial. Esta oportunidad de inversión lo que busca es una subvención inicial mediante un financiamiento semilla que servirá para la estructuración legal y financiera del fondo, para la puesta en marcha de todos los esquemas identificados. Y también un capital catalítico enfocado ya en la definición y consolidación de la entidad encargada de gestionar los recursos del fondo, así como la creación de incentivos para la restauración de bienes con usos residenciales accesibles y el subsidio para la adquisición de predios en donde se podrán implementar viviendas accesibles. Sin duda, su apoyo será fundamental y ayudará precisamente a que los residentes de larga data permanezcan en el centro histórico, mientras que Cuenca sigue creciendo como la ciudad dinámica, vibrante que ha sido hasta ahora y que esperamos continúe de esa manera. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Vanessa, a ti. So for a historic center faced with a profit-driven real estate market and over-tourism, the potential for this municipal fund financed by the sales of air rights and hotel and tourism taxes can help funnel the benefits of this economic activity towards and not away from the local residents that most need them. So this project represents an incredible opportunity to pilot an innovative financing mechanism that might serve as a model for other historic cities. And so that concludes the 4 presentations pitching these investable heritage projects for further financial support. And you've all just seen a snapshot of the great effort that's gone into the entire Accelerator process. So a big congratulations to all the presenters and the broader teams behind each effort. With that, I will hand it over to Gary Haddam, who's Chifa's co-founder and managing director, to close out this session.
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate the introduction. And thanks everyone for joining us today and giving us an hour of your time. And hats off to all the presenters who did a terrific job representing their cities. Over the past 9 months, the participants not only really took a rigorous look at their cities and benefited from training, but they also reached out to their own local communities to build consensus for these projects and to build the necessary partnerships and really the enthusiasm to undertake this hard work. All of the cities share a common goal, and it's that their efforts deliver long-term, meaningful opportunities and opportunities for prosperity for their local residents and not at the cost of displacement. I think you'll all agree that what you saw today reflected some really remarkable places of beauty that are magical and are very important to the world's heritage, and not in terms of only their built environment, but also the culture they embody over centuries of habitation. While they're very important places to the world, our frustration, I think you share it, everyone on this call, is that the resources available for historic preservation are incredibly finite. And with the OWHC and CHIFA, our goal was really to broaden the dimension of who could partner with resources and networks to change the opportunities for these places to succeed with their heritage assets being engines for sustained vitality. And that the premise of our work is really to demonstrate that these are places that can generate revenues to create a platform for continued work. I think you saw from each of the presentations that we're asking for two very specific capital tools to activate each city's goals. One is a seed capital fund that would be brought together philanthropically. Those resources will be used to do the organizational structuring, do the legal work, define the governance structures, and to position each project for activation. We're also planning to raise what we're calling a catalytic capital fund, which you saw within all of the presentations, which is essentially a higher risk, long-term patient capital, which we hope to bring together through program-related investments and other impact dollars that can provide the working capital that would enable these projects to launch and to staff themselves, and importantly, to leverage commercial participation in debt and equity from local partners. And the end game is that these projects are financially viable and will continue to have a platform for work to advance over time, with many other projects coming out of these single catalytic initiatives. So everyone tomorrow is going to receive full financial plans for each of the places. I think hopefully we teased you with the opportunity to see these places, to be impressed by them, and maybe you'll all go and visit them one day. I had the pleasure of being to many of them myself. So that concludes today's work and presentation. I want to thank you all for being part of it. I'd like to think that we're all part of a community, everyone who participated in this seminar. A lot of work ahead, but I think that the opportunities are before us, and hopefully we can take advantage of them together. Thank you so much.